Hey everyone, today I'm joined by Adam Weil, a partner at White Rabbit Group. White Rabbit Group partners with creative and branding agencies to handle the web development and technical work that those agencies can't, or honestly, probably shouldn't do themselves. They have built a model around white label dev partnerships that help agencies deliver more value without stretching beyond their strengths. Now, I wanted to have Adam on because too many agencies are still trying to own everything, and it's costing them quality, it's costing them client trust, and it's definitely costing revenue. Adam has seen this pattern play out hundreds of times and has a clear eyed perspective on when to partner, when to refer, and how to make your clients stickier in the process. In this episode, we discuss what breaks first when agencies try to do everything in house, why saying we don't do that can actually be a competitive advantage, how to use partnerships to make your existing clients more sticky, and more. No one was asking for another community, but I've made one anyway. So, what's different? The dynamic agency community is designed around access rather than content. Access to peers who've done it before, access to experts who've designed solutions, access to resources that have been battle tested. And right now, the price for founding members is only $97 a year. Join today so your agency has immediate access to everything you need to grow. You can join at dynamicagency.community. Lead gen is the hardest part of running an agency. For most, it's unpredictable, it's slow, and it's usually expensive. Gia flips that. It's the all-in-one growth platform that turns your existing relationships and client work into a steady pipeline. Gia automates lead gen, follow-up, and content, and it's all from the work you're already doing. You can check it out and get some free bonuses at getgia.ai/dynamic agency. And now, Adam Weil. It's easier than ever to start an agency, but it's only getting harder to stand out and keep it alive. Join me as we explore the strategies agencies are using today to secure a better tomorrow. This is Agency Forward. What breaks first when agencies try to own everything in-house?
Yeah, it's usually what they're weakest at, right? So, most agencies, it depends what size agency we're talking about here, but if it's an agency that's anywhere from a handful of employees up to maybe 50, it's still usually led by the founder or partners in large part. So whatever their weakness is tends to kind of trickle down throughout the business, I would say. So if they're not a very technical person, then wherever things get a little bit technical on projects, they're usually not going to make the right decisions. They don't know how to bring on the right people. They don't know how to apply the right processes. So whatever they're weak at, there's going to be problems around that.
And yeah, so this one gets me every time, right? It's like, if we know we're going to be weak in this, why are we even offering it? And so I think the easy answer is like, well, there's revenue there. And I think that's where most agencies go. But let's just figure it out piece of that, and knowing that you might actually hurt your revenue because this person's going to have a bad experience because of whatever you're not great at, you're trying to deliver, but it's going to sour everything else that you're doing within this project.
Right.
I don't know. I guess how do you look at that with, like, if someone does want to still do those because there is revenue, they have people asking for this type of stuff. Like, what's the solution?
Yeah. So it depends on what the goal is for the agency. So, I mean, I've seen it all. Like White Rabbit Group, we partner with creative agencies, a lot of branding agencies. So whenever they need websites, web apps, or mobile apps, they outsource that to us, oftentimes white labeled. So I've seen all kinds of relationships. I've seen agencies that have been around for 30 years that had their own in-house team that eventually shed that team and then just start outsourcing things that they're weak at to other vendors. I've also seen some teams just flat out not take on those types of projects. Take like a branding agency, for example. They may love doing packaging and brand identity work, and they've just had so many problems with the websites. I've seen them just shut down that offering entirely, which, I mean, fine. If you want to just do that, I think there's more power to you if you just want to stay in your lane. But to your point, you are going to miss out on the revenue opportunity. But I also think the more important thing is you're going to miss out on an opportunity to provide more value to your clients, even if it's a referral. So
Mhm.
many agencies are like, no, 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 we don't do that. We don't do that, you know, and they turn away the opportunity to provide more value. So it could just be a simple referral. But I think where they could provide even more value is there's a relationship already established there. There's trust already established there. So, from the client's perspective, they're looking for that agency to make a recommendation, whether it's a referral or it's just knowing that, hey, that agency, if you just own that, we would feel so much better about that. Most clients have that perspective where they're like, you know what, we've had a great experience here. We need to
Mhm.
get a new website. You did a great brand identity. Can you just oversee the website? And a lot of clients would be happy to do that, and some agencies just they don't feel comfortable enough to jump in that situation.
Right. So operational constraints, I think, are one of the probably less engaged levers for differentiation with agencies, where it's like, if I can say I will not do this, it's like there are times where that is actually very attractive to
Hmm.
clients, where it's like, oh, fine, someone who's not going to try to just keep upselling me and doing all these
Hmm.
things, right?
Right.
But yeah, you bring up a great point for like the referral side of this is like there's always the opportunity to say, hey, even though we don't do it, I know exactly who is an expert in this that we could send you to.
Right.
Um, but as we're talking differentiation, I want to talk about your delivery model,
Yeah.
because I do think that's like an awesome. It's a way, another method that agencies often miss
Hmm.
when thinking about how they can differentiate. But you guys have done this extremely well, and so
Hmm.
let's get
Yeah.
into
Yeah, for sure. And before I get into the delivery model, I just want to touch on a little bit more around kind of the carrot and the stick when it comes to partnering. Because as you
that.
mentioned, it can be a differentiator when you say no, we don't do it all, right?
Yeah.
And I
Mhm.
think that's actually the right way to approach it in 2026 is to have your clear positioning and your niche where you just dominate that one thing. But on the flip side of it is if you can offer certain services, you can make your clients a little bit more sticky, for
Mhm.
example. So if you have a retainer with a client, let's say you're providing marketing services, driving traffic to their website and different ads and things like that, different landing pages. If those landing pages or that website is a poor experience, is not converting well, all those marketing dollars that they're spending are far less efficient. And that's going to be a reflection on you. So you can actually do a better job for the client by approaching them strategically. Hey, what do you think about doing a new website? Is that something you'd be open to? And you can start to work your way into that conversation with these clients to make them more sticky, to provide more value. So I think that's one thing is to look at the different ways that it could benefit you. And if you're clear on that, then you can start to explore, okay, well, what are the possibilities there? Is it bringing it in house? Is it, staff augmentation? Is it hiring a dev shop? Is it hiring a company like us? So I think the first thing is to really be clear, like, is it worth it to do that? And if so, now you can look at the different delivery models. And I'll answer that as far as what we do differently based on my own experience. So I had an agency before White Rabbit. It's called Web Sauce, a small handful of employees. My passion was design. So I built a whole company around design. I was not very technical. So I always relied on outside teams. And I tried bringing it in house. I tried freelancers. I tried outsourcing it to local folks. I tried outsourcing it to India, South America, Eastern Europe. I mean, I really tried it all. I probably went through a dozen different development teams or individuals. And when I found White Rabbit, I think the model is what attracted me first. So when you have development projects, there's multiple people involved, right? So you have a front end developer, you have a back end developer, you have DevOps to make sure the site's migrated properly, security is set up properly. You want to make sure the site is performant, meaning it loads fast. You want to make sure it's QA'd properly on actual devices and browsers. So these are all separate disciplines.
Mhm.
And if you hire a freelancer, they're usually good in like one of those disciplines, maybe two. So you're not going to get a full stack experience. There's really no such thing, in my opinion, as a true full stack developer. And so there's going to be weaknesses there. Also, freelancers are not necessarily the best communicators. They have other projects. There's other things pulling their attention. They may get the opportunity of a lifetime halfway through the project. So there's a lot of vulnerabilities there.
Mhm.
So that's where I saw some problems as far as like scalability and consistency. And then the other situation would be, in-house. You can do in-house, but there's so many different tech stack requests from clients. One month it might be WordPress, another month it might be Magento or Adobe Experience Manager. There's so many different tech stacks, and it's impossible for a small development team or one developer to know all these different tech stacks. Plus, you have the costs of maintaining them on payroll and keeping them busy. The other option is staff augmentation, but the problem with staff augmentation is similar to the freelancer model, right? They're typically only good in one specific area. They're not
Mhm.
necessarily going to be the best communicator. And oftentimes they don't really feel like a true partner in that sense, right? They're just kind of tacked on there as a supporting role, and they're not necessarily the best communicator. They're not going to look at the project holistically. They're just going to go, okay, I'm going to do my one little piece. So those are pretty much the options. That I would say the last option is a traditional dev shop. So an agency might know a friend that does websites, and they're just going to go, you know what, I'll just outsource it to them.
Mhm.
Problem with that is it tends to be expensive. They tend to bill hourly only, and they're just interested in racking up as much hours as possible. Again, there's more of a transactional vendor type approach in those relationships. They may have multiple project managers that get swapped in and out. Um, so they're not really set up to really support an agency to to make sure that they look like the hero in front of their client. So those are
Right.
pretty much the different options. Our option is different because we have what we call an outcome owner delivery model, which is a single point of contact, which is on time zone. And these are like the unicorns in the industry, the technical people that are great communicators. We're not having them jump in the code, although they can. We're
Mhm.
having them own the outcome of the project. So they're working directly with the front end developer, the back end developer, DevOps, and QA. Everything is getting fielded through that TPM, the technical project manager, who's their main point of contact. So they ensure that project is successful from start to finish. And because they're responsible for the outcome, we want to get brought into that process as soon as possible. So as soon as we're estimating it, what is the strategy? What's the client's goals? What's the agency's goals? So we make sure that we're tracking that all the way through. So it's a true partnership. We can hop on client calls, like calls with the agency's client on their behalf in some cases. So we can really tease out all the information that we need to ensure it's a success.
Mhm.
Um, so that's the unique aspect of it, is having the on time zone support, the technical great communicator, and then of course they can talk directly with their other team members if they need to, but having that single point of contact really own the outcome, I think, is the real differentiator.
Right. Anytime someone can own, right, the actual outcome, I think they're going to feel more like contributing to everything, and like there's, I know, their like status is at stake, I guess, and so like they
Right.
want to contribute. But what got you even considering that model in the first place?
Well, because there was so much pain around the other models, you know, I think as an agency, it's extremely infuriating when you can provide a great experience to your client from the entire process all the way to the end, meaning the sales process goes well, the design process goes well, the strategy, they're loving it. And then you can get to the point where you're launching a new website, and then QA fails. It's missing some components. The site's not able to be managed like
Mm-hmm.
you thought it was going to be managed. And it's the last thing that the client remembers throughout the whole engagement.
Right.
So even if everything is a 10 out of 10, that last experience kind of puts a sour taste in their mouth. That really hurts you when it comes to referrals. And so that was an experience that I had over and over, and it was really infuriating. And I just thought there had to be a better way of doing this. And White Rabbit had figured it out. I don't claim to have invented the model. It was basically invented by Greg, our co-founder, and Avalash, our co-founder. Abalash is a back end developer. Greg is a front end developer. And so together they proposed, having this model and have just scaled it
Mhm.
up from there.
And so, in trying that out, was it just trial and error for them to, yeah, figure out what actually works for this and how to get
Yeah,
it
I
going?
think what actually happened was Greg owned another agency called Golden Leaf, and it was a marketing agency. So Greg was always technical, and he just kind of wound up in some relationships with other agencies where they were outsourcing their development to us, to Golden Leaf
Mhm.
at the time. And the model went so well where Greg was, giving them all the information so that they look good in front of their client. And they were super grateful because they're like, yeah, we don't know how to do this stuff. It makes our clients more sticky. We're able to mark it up and make a pretty good profit. This is great. Let's keep doing this. And so we just saw it as, we don't have a lot of retainers with our partners, but they just bring so much repeat business to us. It's in a way sort of like a retainer. So we just rebrand it to White Rabbit Group and just went all in on the model.
Yeah. So let's talk partnerships since we'll get into your realm here.
Yeah.
um, what makes for a great dev partner, or I guess like agency slash dev partner relationship is probably a better way to put it.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things. One is uh, like just having good processes, I think is in my eyes number one. Because if you're going to make things scalable and repeatable, like you have to have everything documented.
Mhm.
So I think that's a really important thing. If you're looking at a dev partner, ask them what are their processes. Can you send me documentation? I think that's a good proxy there. The other aspect I would say is a good dev partner is going to ask a lot of questions up front to really understand the goals of the project. They're not just trying to understand, all right, what's the tech stack? You know, how does the manageability, like those are important questions as well. But you really want to understand as a dev partner, why is this an important initiative? What's the business outcome that this is attached to? So I think those are great questions. I think another aspect is having a QA team. A lot of developers do not have a good QA process. Most times they're just QAing the work themselves, and then they make sure it fits for the viewport of the agency or the client, but they don't really check on all the other various screens. So those are the first things that come to mind, but many different aspects that make a good dev partner.
Right. Like white labeling and stuff, like the partnerships are incredibly important, right? Because that's where a majority of your, well, that's where all of your revenue is coming from. And
Right.
so like, what are some things that even just on like a maintaining relationships kind of standpoint, what are the things you're
Mm.
looking for with people you partner with?
Like, what am I looking for in another agency or
Yeah, both. What are the touch points? What are the things that you're doing in order to make sure that everybody's getting what they need from the relationship?
yeah.
And so I guess for a little more back, I'm asking this purely because I used to do some advisement with Partner Hub. So they're
Mm.
really, those are for like agencies and tech partners and stuff. But like partnerships was a huge, almost like blind spot for
Mm.
agencies where like the
Yeah.
tech companies, a lot of them have a partnership like ecosystem, and they have right team members who are managing this type of stuff, who are thinking through these things. The
Yeah.
agencies are just looking for deals. And when
Hmm.
they have a deal and they can't facilitate something, right, then they find someone else who can help.
Yep.
And so just like they didn't have as much of a system or a process to being able to like maintain these relationships. And so
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
it's a good question. So I'm fascinated by this, and to be honest, I don't think we've got it all figured out. Um, as an example, we're about to go into our 10th year in business, and we just introduced our account management team last year for the very first time.
Mhm.
So I also kind of say that in like a braggadocious way, to be honest, because I think it's amazing that we grew to what we did. Almost 90 employees just from having one technical project manager, that owner, right, that
Mhm.
outcome owner, working directly with our partners, same person, project to project. So they build a relationship. That was essentially our account management in a way. And I think just because the relationship there was so solid, it just continued to bring us more work. And so we didn't feel the need to introduce account management.
Mhm.
I think we're at the point now where we've matured enough to realize, okay, we're leaving money on the table by not investing more in these relationships. And so the things that we're doing now are, one is, having a proper kickoff. So, really starting things off on the right foot. We have a beautiful deck that we walk through. We try to have all the stakeholders of that agency on that call. We really try to make sure that that happens and push for that so that all the right people are there from the beginning. and and then we map out the people at that agency. So it's going to be leadership. There's three legs to the stool for us. Leadership. So this is like CEO, COO, those types of folks, and then sales. So this may be head of biz dev, um, and or the CMO perhaps. And then the last stool is basically the project manager, whoever it is that we're dealing with on a day to day basis.
Mhm.
If all three of those people um, understand and value our what we bring to the table, like they understand it enough to really value it, that ensures a long-term partnership, because we're not the cheapest option out there. If you just compare us on like an hourly basis, we're going to lose that game all the time. But
Mhm.
that's not a fair way of comparing development agencies, because number one, one developer can take 30 minutes that another developer takes 4 hours. So
Mhm.
the quality there can vary wildly.
Right.
And there's so many other aspects: the communication, the organization, the documentation that goes into it that creates a better experience. It's not just an hour for an hour. But the point is, and actually bring me back, because I went off on a tangent there, but bring me back to the original question.
The What are you doing to maintain the relationships?
Yes. Yeah. So it's having the account manager kick off things in the right way.
Yeah.
They understand who the decision makers are in the company, those three legs of the stool. They're building relationships with all three of them so that they understand and value what we do. I think that's a really important piece. And then having the right checkpoints throughout the project just to check in, see how things are going. And then having quarterly business reviews, nothing,
Mhm.
earth shattering there. But also in those quarterly business reviews, asking, about their client roster right now and seeing, okay, are there opportunities in here to ask them about their website, to just raise the question.
Mhm.
And that's a great way for us to provide value, because one agency uh, might be working with a hospitality client. And there's an example I'm thinking in the back of my head where we raised to the agency, hey, what if there was like a kiosk? This is through a brainstorming session with the agency. What if there was like a kiosk, like a large touch screen, when they walk into the hotel, they could see all the amenities and they can see where to go. The agency might really like that idea, and they pitch that, and there's an opportunity there. So
Mhm.
it's those types of things that allow us to be viewed as more of like a partner instead of just like a transactional vendor.
Right. So I'm curious. I'm curious about a bunch of things, but like I'm pulling one little snippet that came from this, where you guys were running with the founder as the account manager for everything up until
Mhm.
last year. What was that transition like? What were some of the thinkings and everything that had to go into it?
Yeah. Well, so what didn't exactly play out like that? Our founder hasn't been on the project management side for um, it's about 5 years, maybe a little more than that, actually.
Mhm.
So he was able to do a nice job stepping out. And your question is, how did he do that? I think what really played well in that situation was when we were in office. So we had an office, and right next to him was our first project manager.
Mhm.
And so he was sitting there, a technical project manager, sitting there basically helping them um, draft the emails. I mean, we have a Slack channel that's still in our company's Slack, which we honestly don't really use as much these days, but it's called Help Peer Review. And I love that channel because people would just drop an email in there. Hey, can you help me respond to this? Or they'd put their own draft in there and say, hey, how does this look? And it was a great part of our culture. I think we still have it. It's just I think
Yeah.
now there's a lot of senior folks on our team that just don't use that and need as much.
Hmm.
But that right there was a big part of what allowed him to kind of shift out.
Gotcha. So, so it was like an official shift was like as of last year, with you guys like slowly implementing this. It's one of the sticking points for a lot of agencies, right? How does the founder get out of this type of work? And so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think to Greg's, credit, he did put a lot of autonomy into the team.
Hmm.
I think, he allowed us to make mistakes, and maybe some deals were lost because of that. Honestly, maybe some relationships were damaged because of that. But, he did step in when needed, and then also just let things fade out. And sure, like, would we have retained a little bit more of the relationships if he was attached to the client at every one? Probably. But
Hmm.
I think we had so many opportunities, to be honest. I think when you're in the scarcity mindset, you don't have a lot of opportunities, it's harder to do that. And so I think as an owner, if you really want to step back, do everything in your power to generate as much demand, so that you can afford to have some hiccups. It's not going to be a perfectly linear, smooth process. And you have to accept that if you truly intend to step out of that.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I preach that all the time. If you can focus on the demand side of this problem and just say, can I just get enough leads in here that will close these deals and my team will get the reps to be able to learn and figure this out?
Right.
Like the SOP side of this and like the supply side, it kind of works itself out because of that.
Right.
Um, but something else that I find fascinating here is like it's rare that you can look at an agency and just kind of get an idea of their positioning, separate from like not positioning like the tagline on your website, but like who are they as like
Mm.
a group of people.
Hmm.
And because of the way so Greg, one of the
Hmm.
founders, because of the way he kind of ran with that, with like letting people make mistakes, right? He was letting them own what he was giving them. Your entire
Hmm.
delivery model is around ownership. It's
Yep.
like you guys have this common like this through line that's
Yeah.
going like passing through all the different parts of your business that I think is very strong and makes it much easier to run the marketing for like for you to show up and say this is who we are and now actually have the evidence to back it up.
Right.
Was that intentional or just the way it kind of worked out because you had some strong personalities running the show?
Yeah, I think we did get a little bit lucky in that sense. We had some really talented people early on that allowed us to again step back. I mean, that TPM, that first TPM that he hired, is still with us today.
Hmm.
So I think there's a little bit of luck in there. Um, but yeah, I honestly I think a lot of it is luck. But I will say it's now easier than ever because like we're using ClickUp as our project management
Hmm.
software. It is incredible the level of insight that you can drill down to. If you want to take a step back, but you still want to have a little bit of visibility, like you still want to like see what's going on quickly without having to be in all the meetings and take up all your time, you can do that so easily now. So
Right.
it is, there's no excuse. It has never been easier for someone to take a step back because you can still very easily peek underneath the hood and see what's going on.
Hmm. Yeah. It's awesome. I think it's what a lot of agencies aspire to reach. Maybe not without knowing all of the details for like and like or having the right words to explain what they're looking for, but having something that's like consistent and like with this theme, I guess, that you guys
Hmm.
have. Tim Kilroy on a recent episode just broke it up by your vibes, vision, and values. And I think it's definitely vibes that you guys have
Hmm.
there. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, let's look at like 80/20 for an agency that wants to start offering like technical services and stuff and
Yeah.
they want to find a partner, but it's one they got to be able to kind of sell these to clients, right? Like the and then be able to hand off to the partner. uh
Hmm.
80/20, just like what should they be focused on in order to make this as smooth as possible?
Well, I think finding the right partner is probably number one. The last thing you want to do is end up in a situation where, again, you're delivering all the way through that experience for your client and then something falls through the
Mhm.
cracks. So I recommend starting small, doing a small project, not rushing into it. It's always when there's some sort of opportunity that comes up. So it's usually the client that's like, hey, can you also do our website? That's usually the most natural starting point. And so I think doing your due diligence to vet that agency, like if I were hiring an agency and I didn't know White Rabbit, I would be wanting to talk with previous partners, not just clients, but also agency partners um, that have relevant projects, like similar tech stacks or similar types of projects. If it's a mobile app, I'd want to talk to a partner that did a mobile app with that dev agency.
Mhm.
Um, I would probably want to talk with more than just the account manager or TPM, at least initially, just so I have a sense of who the players are. I would want to know what their QA process is, and I'd want to see that like immediately. If they take a while to send me their documentation, that's a little bit of a red flag.
Mhm.
So I would be very aggressive on, because there's so many crappy agencies out there um, that just don't have their shit together, and so I would be very aggressively vetting them. And if they pass through that gauntlet, then dude, let's get married. But like that would be step one for me.
Yeah. And so from the agency side, like the
Mhm.
your potential partner, would it like step one for them be see if someone wants this? Or
Hmm.
should they be like considering a partner first and say, hey, maybe we should start offering this? Let's find a partner, see what that could look like, and then we start trying to sell it? Or
Yeah,
is it wait for someone to bring it up? And if we could sell this, then go quickly find a partner.
that's a good question. I think you can go either way. I think if you have really good relationships with clients and you can have a candid conversation where it's like, hey,
Mhm.
we want to keep providing value to you guys. Are there certain services that you're looking for, whether we can bring it or recommend our partners? What do you need in the business? I think that's a really good question to ask because it tells the client, hey, you really care about them. And then you're going to learn a lot about where those gaps are, and then you can go find a development agency or whatever agency that can fill those gaps. But on the flip side, if you also have like a good partner in your network where you're like, wow, those services I think could really complement what we're doing, that's another way you could do it. And then just have a conversation with them and say, hey, I want to bring this stuff up. How should I go about doing that? And if they're a good partner, they'll give you some good advice there on how to
Mhm.
bridge the gap.
Awesome. All right, Adam, I got two more for you.
Okay.
First one being what book you recommend every agency owner should read?
What book should every agency owner read? I think owning an agency today requires a tremendous amount of focus and discipline. And I don't think that's talked about enough. There's so many different strategies and tactics out there that it's overwhelming. And there's so many different things vying for our attention. I mean, I look at my computer screen here. I have so many different tabs that are pinned, and they're all vying for my attention. So a book that I would recommend is called Mindful Self-Discipline
Mm.
by Giovanni Densman. It's probably not a very popular book, I'm guessing. He's a meditation teacher. He's also kind of a tech guru as well. He's just a great mind and has some really, really practical ideas for how to integrate mindful self-discipline into your workday, because I think it's so important every day. If you're not working on like the most important thing and you're getting pulled into other directions, like you are just slowing your business down and
Mhm.
causing more pain. So I'm a big believer of just like eliminating things and just focusing on the most important aspects. And you can't do that if you're just jumping from thing to thing. If you don't have a habitual way of, of identifying what is the most important thing and slowing down and just executing.
Yeah. Uh, and the good news that has never been brought up on this podcast with
Mm,
100 plus episodes in now. So I
nice.
get another book to add to my list.
Yeah.
Last question is where can people find you?
Yeah. Find me on LinkedIn. My name is Adam Weil, ADAM. Weil is WEIL. And also check out our website, whiterabbit.group. we're actually launching a new website this week. So check it out. I'm excited for the new positioning. I'm excited for Chris to check it out and give his opinion on that too.
Oh, happily. But awesome. Adam, thanks for joining.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
That's the show, everyone. You can leave a rating and review, or you can do something that benefits you. Click the link in the show notes to subscribe to Agency Forward on Substack. You'll get weekly content, resources, and links from around the internet to help you drive your agency forward.